The slides are there, great. I would like to add a third project to this interesting session. My name is Therese van den Bulke. I work as a project manager for the company Traject, and this is the same company as my colleagues Patrick and Evelyn work for. And one of the projects that we're appointed for is the Werken aan de Ring, so the works on the Brussels Ring Road. And we are appointed by the Werkvernootschap. Is this a well-known entity, the Werkvernootschap? Okay, I see some people nodding. Very briefly, it's an entity created by the Flemish government to coordinate large infrastructure works, because before it was more scattered and sometimes difficult communication. So we work as a Mobi coach for companies in the area. This is a well-known view for all of you, I think. Here we see the Brussels Ring Road. Maybe you know how much time it already exists in this way. The Ring Road is around 40 to 65 years old. So let's think back what was typical for these times, 40 to 65 years ago. Well, there was given a big priority to the car, and the car was king. Before the bicycle was very popular, but when the car came, everyone was crazy about it. And we also had a lot smaller population, and so less pressure on public space. So we could install everything to get easily at every destination by car. Furthermore, there was also less environmental awareness, which is already a bit better today. So what are we confronted with? With a very ancient infrastructure and also very complicated. What do I mean by that? Well, very simple. If you are on the Brussels Ring Road, you will certainly not use your cruise control, I imagine. It's not like America that you can drive for hours without seeing an exit or an entrance. On the Brussels Ring Road, you should have all your attention on the road because all of the time there are coming people in, going people out, crossing, which makes this a very dangerous infrastructure. And it also gives an extra impulse for the congestion. So the car is king, that we already know, and in the time that the Ring Road was created, there was also little attention for green and blue lines, so rivers and nature. So, to improve this situation, there is the program Werken aan de Ring. And there's no one who can say it better than René Marguerite. And this program isn't a program about car infrastructure. Maybe the name suggests it, but it's really about multimodality. And that's what I would like to show you today, what the program is about. Maybe in numbers, here you can see the region we are talking about. We will have 20 kilometers of new or upgraded roads, 60 kilometers of bicycle infrastructure, and 60 kilometers for tram and tram bus infrastructure. Here you can see the principles. To be short on it, it's all about multimodality and quality of life. So we want an accessible, a livable, and a prosperous region. There will be created a lot of infrastructure, of which I will show you some examples, but it's also important that people in the area will have to make a choice about their transport behavior. In the introduction, Miguel already mentioned a few numbers about the modal split. Here we have some information about the home-work transport of people living in the Flemish periphery. As you can see, they are all car lovers because 76% is coming by car and only 24% by sustainable modes. Maybe as a joke I say car lovers, but it's also because the infrastructure is lacking. The ring road is really a barrier at the moment, and this is something they want to change with the program. And there is also actually a paradox that the closer the people live to Brussels, the more they come by car. Because the lines, as he also said, between cities you can go very fast, but on short distances, most of the time they're not very good connections. But because the distance is short, this also means there is a very large potential for the bike. So then we come at the project of Patrick again. So what do we want to do? We want to redistribute space and means to support the use of the bike. Now let's have a look at the map. In orange you see indicated all the new bicycle highways that will be created. I suppose that because there are a lot of bikers in the room, that this is a very nice view. And let's have a look also at the south of Brussels, which is also not forgotten. As you can see, there are many projects, so I will just pick some examples to give you a feeling of what is going to change. I will start with this one. So here you can see the F3. This is situated in Zaventem-Diegem, and it's along the railway of the high-speed train. When I started in this project, I did a field visit, of course, with my bike. And on the road, so I was cycling very nicely, and then I came to this point. So you see the stairways. When we talk about enabling modal shift, I can say this is quite discouraging, because you have to get off, put your bike on your shoulder, and when you cross the big street that goes to the airport, you have to get it up again. So what will happen at this point? You can see where this picture is taken. There will come a very large bicycle bridge. This will also be a wide bridge so that bikes of all different types can cross in two ways. So I'm actually very excited about this project. And then another one is the Hector Hennolaan. It's a bridge that I'm sure you have crossed a million times. So it's over the Brussels Ring Road. And here you see a picture of Google Maps about the situation today. I tried to cross it by bike, but I have to return halfway because it's very dangerous. As you can see, there is a bike suggestion lane in pink. And when you're around here, the lane goes in between two lines for the car. So also very dangerous. Here you can see the new design. I mentioned that it will also have attention for nature. And here you can see how plants and animals will be able to cross. But for bikes, this will be the new situation. So it will really change enormously the possibilities to go from Brussels to Flanders and the other way around. And then another one, very briefly, so the same lane as I showed in the first example, there will come a bridge that connects existing bicycle highways. And then maybe you also have been in the traffic jam this summer on the Brussels Ring Road, because in Vilvoorde at the moment, at the Medialaan, they are also working. And this is a nice example of how they are going to change the infrastructure for cars. So it will be more dense, less dangerous, and there will be created also a bicycle bridge. So these are a few examples of how the situation for the biker will be improved. Of course, there's also the public transport network, and here there are three important projects. The airport tram, speed tram to Willebroek, and the ringtrambus. So the airport tram will be able to cross 12 kilometers in 30 minutes, so bringing you from Brussels North to the airport. The fast tram will be a tram from Willebroek to Brussels, alongside the A12 and alongside a bicycle highway. And at every stop there will also be a park and ride where you can change your mode of transport. And then the third one is the ringtrambus. It's more in the periphery of Brussels and Flanders. These buses are already driving, but they are still working to have it in separate bus lanes to increase even more the speed. What is very important, of course, is that there are also hop-in-punten, formerly known as mobipunt, to enable people to come some part of their trajectory by car and then change to an alternative mode of transport. The werkvernootschap will create 6 extra hop-in-punten who will be strategically orientated in Wezenbeek-Oppen, Assen, Groot-Bijgaarde, Lot, Sint-Genesius-Rode, and also Vilvoorde, where they are finalizing it at the moment. And when you hear me say these places, it sounds like a message from where are the traffic jams today. So hopefully it will have its impact. The werkvernootschap is an entity that has to create infrastructure, so their main focus is on that part. But of course they know they also have to convince people. Think about the modal split that I've showed, and therefore there is the new mobility network. And this network should inform companies in the region, and they can also ask for support from our side, from the Mobi coaches. We are 3 consultants that help with all their questions regarding mobility. And to give you a practical example, they can also order accessibility sheets. And what is typical about this accessibility sheets, that in yellow we indicate the works that are planned. In this way, they can inform people about the possible nuisance there will be during a certain time, but also when will this new infrastructure be operational, and when can you leave your car behind and take the bike to work. We also do campaigns like, for example, Cycling Heroes, where volunteers go by bike to their work during 6 weeks. And of course, there is the website werkenandering.be, where you can have a look at all the works that are planned and find more information about timings and other information. Voilà, that was my story. So what should you keep in mind? That Werken aan de Ring is more than car infrastructure. It's all about multimodality and quality of life. If you know a company in the area and they need support, they can contact us on mobicoach@newmobilitynetwork.be. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. All presentations of today will be accessible through the internet and will be mailed to all participants, just to be clear, so you can see all the contact info online. Are there questions for Therese? Maybe one little question for you to start again. Same question as before. Have you ever driven on the Brussels Ring Road? Oh, not that. Oh, okay. Lots of people. And have you ever been stuck in traffic on the Brussels Ring Road? That's almost the same number. Okay, what a coincidence. Are there any questions for Therese? Because it is nice to see multimodality in our infrastructure works.
Maybe just a small question, but is the funding of the project already confirmed, or is it going to be phased budgeting, or can you tell a bit about that?
You mean of the infrastructure works?
3 public transport works, infrastructure, the biking. Is the funding already in the pocket, like to say, or is there still some question marks open there?
I'm not completely aware about the details regarding budgeting, because we have a role just in supporting the companies. But as how I experience it, it's really project by project that they have to discuss with different stakeholders. For example, an airport tram going from territory of Brussels into Flanders, it's probably always a difficult discussion on and who will use this tram. Are it more people from Brussels or more people from Flanders? So I think it's done project by project.
Yeah, one of the nice things, if I can add to it is that a lot of cycling projects and public transport projects are already funded and in being realized at this moment, while there's still a MER, so a study to see what the climate and environmental impact of the ring and which works will be done to the ring road itself. So that is not entirely sure how it will be realized. Guess that's more or less correct. Okay, thank you. Are there any more questions for Therese?
I have a question about you coaching or helping companies to convince their employees or others to use public transport or to use the improvements that are being made. That's already in place. You already helped some companies or zones to convince their employees?
Yes, our assignment did change a bit over time. So the first year we did intensive coachings of the most interested companies. So it was with a survey of their staff to see how they come to work and how would they want to come to work. And for these companies, we've made an action plan. Now, starting from January, we're aiming more at large groups to really attain all the companies in the area. We do this with the accessibility sheets, webinars, but also workshops for different companies, these kind of things.
Because why I'm asking this is because like you mentioned, the ring tram bus is already in place, driving normal routes, but is being confronted with 4 main working areas, being roads that are under construction. One of them is being delivered in Strombeek, I guess, recently.
Sint-Annelaan.
Sorry?
The Sint-Annelaan.
Yes, indeed. I think it's a good opportunity for us to work. I'm from the lane, like my colleague here, Elias, to get in touch with each other to see what we can do, because we are aiming the same target groups, not only people who work or who live around the area, but who work around the area. Now, with getting back to work is the new normal. People get to work. The Sint-Annelaan is being delivered by the end of this year or in Q4 of this year. Maybe it's good to sit together and to see what we can do in that neighborhood.
Yeah, that would be very nice. Yeah.
Okay, it's great that our companies are finding each other on this day, that new appointments are made for making mobility better in Flanders. Are there any more questions for Therese? Very welcome if there are more questions.
What about the southwest department of the ring? Because you mentioned the north, but
Yes, so the projects for the north are very clear. There is also a planning process for the east, and the southwest is still in discussion with Brussels. So there are no, this is maybe information that's available, but not that I don't have access to. But there are not very practical plans already for the southwest. But I know there is a communication going on.
Okay. Any more questions? If there are questions for the other speakers as well, feel free to ask. Maybe more general questions about modal shift in Flanders and Belgium are also welcome, of course. We have still 10 minutes left, so I would like to ask a question to the speakers today. And we all know realizing modal shift is very hard. People are in love with their car. I think someone mentioned today, car is still king, but maybe a bit less king than before. What is, in your field, the biggest obstruction to get people to leave their car and get on the train, the bus, or the bike. Maybe I'll ask Patrick first. What's the biggest problem for people to get out of their car and get onto their bike?
I think that's safety, of course. You know that can be a big obstruction to more use the bicycle. But I think we have also an opportunity. We saw that during, especially the first lockdown, a lot more people jumped on their bikes to have some exercise, not to stay at home the whole day. And it was just recreational, but I think that's a big opportunity that people who cycle recreational, that they also make the reflex that they can cycle during the week to work, to school, and to have some shops at local shops. So I think that's especially a big opportunity at this moment out of COVID. So it's not only maybe not only it wasn't only good for some things about public transport, but especially for augmenting the level of cycling in Flanders. And I was last week at Velocity Congress in Lisbon, and we saw that a lot of regions and especially cities made some pop-up bicycle infrastructure because roads were empty, so they invented some new space for cyclists. And it's like the pop-up bicycle paths at the Wetstraat in Brussels. It was meant temporarily, but I think and I hope most of this pop-up infrastructure will last and will stay, and that you have made use of a crisis to reinvent the space on our roads for different road users. So never waste a good crisis.
So in your opinion, infrastructure is the most important thing to make cycling more safe, not education of drivers or cyclists, but infrastructure.
It's of course the combination, but I think if you can educate and sensibilize a lot, but if you don't have the right and especially the safe infrastructure, then it won't work as much as you have the infrastructure available.
Okay, I agree, but if anyone in the room disagrees, feel free to raise your hand and I'll come along with the microphone so we can have a discussion. But maybe it's a little late. But I have the same question for Guy as well. If you're looking to public transport, what is the biggest obstruction for people to leave their cars and take the bus or the train?
Yeah, what keeps people away from public transport? I see three main factors. The first is the public transport service, public transport offer is not good enough. And that's what we try to answer with this integrato concept. People won't take the train if they don't know if the connecting trains will be on time, or if it takes too long, or is it too complicated, or if they don't find the right information. Then I think the second factor is you need to have a sort of easy access to the public transport, the system as a whole. If you go to Antwerp, and it's easy to go to Antwerp Central by train, but then you come out of the station, this beautiful station, and you need to take a bus to somewhere in the Antwerp region. But if you never use train and bus and you come out of the Antwerp I say Antwerp could be another one. Try to find the place and the bus and the exact place where you have to go and in what direction you need to take. It's very difficult. It's frightening for someone who never did it. It's frightening. You're scared. You're scared to do something wrong. You don't know. Sometimes you even don't find where to buy the ticket. So if you don't create a transparent, simple, easy access to all the information and the locations of all the services, it won't work. It won't work. And third, I think it's maybe not the determining factor, but I think a good public transport needs personal assistance. You need living people who can help you on certain places and the bigger stations and all kinds of in city centers, tourist information offices, etc. I think people are more comfortable if they know that they can look after a person there and they can ask face to face what they need to know. But that's maybe not the main factor, but I think it's also important. But the first thing is quality of service and the offer.
What's your opinion on the Mobiliteitscentrale? It's very new. The Flemish government appointed last week an American company, Viavan, to provide the things you asked, information, a place of contact for passengers, not live, but by phone or by internet. Do you think it's a big step forward to have a dedicated Mobiliteitscentrale in Flanders? Or are you afraid that it won't reach the right people?
I'm not sure, because everything depends on how it will be organized and how client-friendly it will work. But let's give it a chance, I said.
Okay. Therese, you had something to add.
Since these 3 projects really touches all our daily lives, I would want to ask to the participants how they feel about the projects. Do they get enthusiastic about it, or do you have some doubts, or maybe also the people at home? Because we're managing these projects, but it's also nice to get some feedback on how do you receive these stories.
Who wants to react to this call? Are we getting...
I think they were all 3 really nice projects, but I think maybe the main question is, because you're trying to get people away from the car, all 3 of the projects, shouldn't there be an answer from the government to get people out of the car too, in the sense that make it less attractive for people to take the car? Because as long as it stays attractive to take the car, people will still take the car, even if you have a nice public transport system, even if you have a nice cycling projects or a good project around Brussels to get in Brussels without a car. If it still stays possible with a car very easily, then people will still take the car. And I think maybe that's the big elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. The 3 of you can't do it, I'm afraid, but I think, yeah, maybe we should get an answer on that question.
Sticks and carrots, any opinions?
Maybe I'll already react. Just a little side note, it's not the intention of the Werkvernootschap to be anti-car. It's just use the car for very early or very late and very remote destinations. Regarding the fiscality, this is also we try to do in our advice when we work with companies to inform them about what do you pay today for your car, and if we make a calculation on when you use the bike and you get bike allowance, how does this look like for you? And we also inform about the possibility of mobility budget and other things.
Did I hear you ask, you didn't say that, but I hear you ask for a congestion charge? Was it?
Among other things, I think, yeah, that's...
Well, maybe it's time, because it's been a discussion. All the big car and mobility companies have been asking the government, we should do a congestion charge. What's your opinion? Do we need a congestion charge? If you say yes, raise your hand. Rekening rijden, slimme kilometerheffing. Okay, I see almost everyone raising their hand. We're all mobility persons, and I think it's clear, all mobility experts, people who are daily working in mobility, see it's needed to have a stick and not only give the cards. But I would like to thank our 3 speakers for offering us 3 very nice carrots today. And I think it's time to have some time off and have a nice talk with each other, not in English, but in the language you want. Thank you.